Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this 1-hour webinar as we talk more about the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. We appreciate your interest in this exciting opportunity, and with almost 2,000 of you registering for this event, we feel this is an opportunity that many of you are very excited about as well. The purpose of this webinar is to share more information about the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge, including the vision, focus areas, eligibility criteria, and more about the application process. Most of what we're covering today can be found on the Enterprise website at enterprisecommunity.org/breakthrough. Here's our agenda for today. After introductions and welcome remarks, we will kick off today's presentation with a video showcasing the incredible work of our first cycle Breakthrough Challenge winners. These 6 winners have proven what is possible when it comes to new innovative approaches, and we want to showcase their work to further demonstrate the level of transformational housing affordability solutions we are seeking to support in this second cycle. We will then dive into our presentation where, again, you'll learn more about the challenge, including the program overview, focus area review in more detail, our eligibility and timeline, criteria and selection, process for applying, and expectations if you are to be selected as a winner. We will conclude with about 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A, but due to the very large number of participants we have joining today, we won't have a chance to address each question, but we'll select as many as possible so that we can cover a variety of topics. Questions we don't have the opportunity to answer in today's webinar will be reviewed and used to update our FAQ page, which can be found on the website. Now let's meet the team who will be leading today's presentation. My name is Christy Smith, and I'm a director on the National Programs team. I've had the great honor of leading the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge on behalf of Enterprise and in partnership with Wells Fargo. For those who may not be familiar, Enterprise celebrated our 40th anniversary last year as a national nonprofit that exists to make a good home possible for the millions of Americans without one. We support community development organizations on the ground, we aggregate and invest capital, and we advance housing policy and build and manage communities ourselves. I'm delighted to share the stage today with Amy Anderson, Reed Jordan, and Tanya Begini. Amy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Christy. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. So thrilled to have you here and to have so much interest in the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. Again, I'm Amy Anderson. I'm part of the Housing Access and Affordability team at the Wells Fargo Foundation.
Reed.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reed Jordan. I am also part of the Housing Access and Affordability team. Equally excited about this challenge and to see all the wonderful innovations happening across the country.
And Tanya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Begini, a grants and contracts specialist with Enterprise. And later in the presentation, I will be providing some guidance on how to use Slide Room, which is the online application program you'll be using to apply for the challenge. Thanks, Christy.
Great. Thank you all. We will now hear from leaders from both Enterprise and Wells Fargo, each sharing such a strong commitment to innovation and housing affordability. It's now my privilege to introduce the president of the Solutions Division of Enterprise Community Partners, Jacqueline Wagner.
Well, thank you, Christy, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to kick off today's session of the 2023 Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. We would not be here today launching a second cycle of the challenge without the incredible vision and generosity of Wells Fargo Foundation. Our first challenge drew nearly 900 proposals. I see we have roughly that many people online today. Our 6 winners each receive $2.5 million to carry out their housing solutions. And we asked the winners to do more than execute their breakthrough ideas. We challenged them to scale and replicate their innovations across the U.S. Based on their exceptional impact, last December, Wells Fargo announced an expanded commitment to a second $20 million Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. We are profoundly grateful for Wells Fargo's focus on housing affordability. Their bold, decisive action reflects both the spirit of the challenge and the driving force behind Enterprise. 40 years ago, our founder, Jim Rouse, launched Enterprise with a pledge to meet the most pressing challenges without compromise and show what's possible. And the Breakthrough Challenge pays tribute to his remarkable legacy. Our next guest also embodies the energy and the passion of this work. Otis Rowley is the president of Wells Fargo Foundation, one of the largest corporate foundations in the U.S. Otis guides the strategic vision behind the company's social impact strategies with an emphasis on housing affordability, small business growth, financial health, and a low carbon future. We're honored that Otis took time from his schedule to help us kick off the 2023 Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. And with that, Otis, the floor is yours. Good day.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I am really happy to be here today. Wells Fargo is excited to be here and to be officially kicking off our second $20 million Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge in partnership with Enterprise Community Partners. First and foremost, happy Black History Month, and good morning, good afternoon to all the participants who are logged in. I'll keep my comments brief so that we can get to the nuts and bolts of today's session. As I think about the housing affordability gap in our country, it's not just about the lack of homes, but also the lack of opportunities. The entire housing system is ripe for innovation and change, and that means that we need to take more risks. Coming from a long career in housing, community, and economic development, I'm a big believer that philanthropy has the power to inspire bold risk-taking moves, which is exactly why we created the first challenge. And it's really exciting to be part of the bank that is really apt to taking more risk. We really hoped that the challenge would be a catalyst to address 3 pressure points in the affordable housing landscape, that being finance, construction, and resident services. What we took away is that we can not only find innovative ideas, we need to nurture and accelerate this type of thinking to create real, impactful change. I recently had the honor of meeting the 6 winning teams from our first challenge, whose innovations are currently part of an exhibition at the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. These innovations are really reshaping the housing landscape, and we're looking for more. We're so excited to see this next round of applicants. And with that, so I just want to say I am really pleased to have the chance to be part of this effort. And I'm really excited about the fact that our team has the opportunity to continue to work with Enterprise Community Partners. Together, I think we've been doing some great things, and I'm looking forward to even greater things in the future. With that now, I'd like to share with you a wonderful video that captures the impact of the innovations from the first challenge, along with the energy, passion, and intellect that the organizations bring to this vital work.
Every person in this country deserves a quality, affordable place to call their home. With the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge, we're looking for the potential to change not just one project or one community, but actually to change how we do things in housing.
Our intention was to look at how resident services, property management, and the built environment could be reimagined through these core principles of trauma-informed caring.
It's a model of modular housing that allows families to start where they are today and grow into what they hope to be in the future.
Health and housing could be a significant contributor to how affordable housing is financed and built. Resident health has been prioritized in health and housing projects, not only in the access to care, but in the design of the buildings themselves.
It's an innovative, automated underwriting system, in that it considers additional criteria that ultimately will lead to more yeses and make low to middle income homeowners much more competitive.
Let's pay homeowners to become hosts, to take people who have been in prison and to live with them for 6 months. And in the way of building a housing project, build a relationship between people.
Our housing solution that is both a climate change pathway and a pro-social equity impact solution. Deserving families that can come home and understand that this is going to be our home for generations.
We were very fortunate to collaborate with enterprise community partners and launch the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge, which really focuses on 3 areas: construction, financing, and resident services. We went through an incredible process with independent judges and chose these final 6 innovations.
Wells Fargo saw it as an opportunity to invest in innovative solutions for our future by supporting peer cohorts, supporting technical guidance, and helping support these 6 brilliant winners that are having some exciting outcomes.
To be selected in such a competitive faction has allowed us to get our foot in the door for folks who may not have otherwise looked at it, realize that this is a concept that has a lot of potential.
The way in which Enterprise has designed the cohort and the support, encouragement, and expectations has really been essential for us to come up with something very innovative in a short period of time.
Enterprise and Wells Fargo is a partnership that we had never seen before. The sort of leadership that we depend upon to be successful.
This is exactly what risk capital is all about, and Mi Casita is proving that. We actually have something that can be replicated and can scale.
I would not be sitting where I am, quite literally, without the Breakthrough Challenge. Having a physical space to bring folks into has allowed us to say, you can expect high quality as a community member. That is your right.
The Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge is empowering communities to be engaged in solutions that impact them. It's about innovation and cutting-edge ideas for the future.
Thank you, Otis. Thank you, Otis and Jacqueline, for that welcome and introduction. And I really hope that everyone was inspired by that fantastic video. I think it really did a wonderful job of giving you a sense of where one of your organizations will ultimately end up through the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. Really, really exciting. As Otis mentioned, Wells Fargo is thrilled to be investing another 20 million philanthropic dollars towards identifying, accelerating, and scaling innovative housing solutions that center racial equity and environmental sustainability. The breadth and the depth of the nation's current housing access and affordability challenges, particularly as faced by low-income people and communities of color, begs for new approaches. So the Breakthrough Challenge is about propelling the most promising solutions forward to the next level, with the ultimate goal of wide adoption by the housing sector and more affordable and equitable housing. I'm going to tell you now a little bit more information about what we are looking for in these innovations. So first and foremost, we're looking for solutions that are new. We're looking for tools and strategies that will be transformative to how the housing sector currently operates. Tools and strategies that break from our current standard approaches, whether that is about how we build housing, how it's operated, how we find housing. We want to see a break from current standard approaches and alternatives that will be more efficient, less expensive, more equitable. We're also looking for innovations that will be scalable. That means that these are solutions that can be readily reproduced. They're not one-time approaches with limited applicability. The Breakthrough Challenge is really intended to support organizations to prove the scalability potential of their innovation. We're also looking for replicability, innovations that, again, ultimately have the potential to be replicated in different geographies and by other organizations. So the question is really, can your organization readily reproduce this model, but ultimately, can the sector as a whole reproduce the model? And then third, we're interested in seeing innovations that are ready to be implemented. Innovations that have already been piloted or tested or deeply assessed or evaluated in some way, whose logical next step is about activation. So it's really important, the funding from the challenge is not for exploring or for early planning around a new idea. I would also just highlight that, again, because we're looking for transformative and innovative ideas, the funding is not ideal for a one-time project or for the operations of an existing program. Christy, to you.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Similar to the first cycle of the challenge, we are looking for these transformative new ideas that fall within 3 focus areas. We've created definitions for each focus area and are asking how your breakthrough idea aligns with these definitions. For construction, we're defining innovation as those that introduce new tools, strategies, approaches, and/or technologies that spur transformative practices, processes, or new materials that will create construction efficiencies, streamline supply chains, bolster climate resiliency, and/or reduce building costs. Examples of new housing affordability solutions in the construction area could include, but are not limited to, the creation and use of innovative, environmentally sustainable materials, streamlining the construction supply chain through materials production, purchasing, delivery, or assembly, innovative development in the affordable housing construction workforce to accelerate production and create new economies of scale through efficiencies in building design. Construction technologies could include, again, not limited to, the deployment of enhanced building practices and new building technologies. Again, these are only examples to help you determine if your idea fits within the definition of construction innovation. In the financing focus area, we define innovation as those that introduce new tools, strategies, approaches, and technologies to transform or offer alternatives to current practices, just as Amy was mentioning in the slide before. These new practices and tools are meant to broaden access to capital, unlock or leverage financial resources, and/or create a more equitable housing market for renters and home buyers. Examples of new housing affordability solution in the financing area could include, not limited to, new investment strategies and funding sources to support acquisition, development, or building operations, new financing mechanisms for acquisition, construction, or permanent financing, improved efficiencies in financing and underwriting, risk mitigation through new investment approaches, new credit enhancement strategies, unique ownership structures, and new approaches that reduce the cost of capital altogether. Financing technologies could include, but are not limited to, the deployment of technology that could accelerate the financing process, development of tools that reduce timelines for approval, and the development of tools that facilitate efficient, equitable access to capital. In the access and resident support focus area, we define innovations as those that introduce new processes or models that improve the housing experience for residents, such as housing access and choice and stability, advancing fair housing, promoting personal agency, and creating pathways for upward mobility. Examples of new housing affordability solution in the access and resident support area could include, but are not limited to, new models that increase housing choice for renters and homebuyers, such as improved housing search process, expanding acceptance of renter subsidies, ensuring equitable access of capital to support homeownership opportunities, identifying and addressing discrimination or differential treatment against protected classes. Access and resident support technologies can include, but not limited to, the development and deployment of technology that improves access to housing options, improving residents' experience and resident housing stability. I want to reiterate again, these examples that you've heard across all three focus areas are only examples, and you are not limited to those ideas at all. Just wanted to provide as much information as possible about the types of innovations that fit within the focus area definitions. The challenge includes two main priorities: the integration of environmental sustainability and the centering of racial equity. If your innovation includes an environmental component, we're looking for ideas that include the following: demonstrated understanding of direct climate benefit of the innovation, a demonstrated understanding of the structural resiliency enabled by the innovation, and the development or use of building materials that are responsibly sourced and promote green and healthy living. Racial equity is at the core of the challenge, as it is for both Enterprise and the Wells Fargo Foundation. We want to see racial equity lifted up in proposals as well, where we want to gain a clear understanding of the expected impact, how it will be an intentional focus throughout the implementation of the innovation, and what the benefits and intended outcomes will be, especially those outcomes that directly benefit residents. One thing we learned from the first cycle of the challenge is that different innovations require different levels of support, and that one award size doesn't always fit all. In this cycle, we will award grants in the amount of $1 million, $2 million, and $3 million amounts based on the scope of innovator proposals. In addition to the grant awards, winners will once again receive technical assistance provided by Enterprise as well as outside providers to help with the development, execution, and scaling of their housing solution. Applicants will be asked to select the amount of grant funding requested in the application and your reasoning for that specific ask. The specifics of what kind of technical assistance is needed will be determined in a future round of the competition. We are not asking any questions related to technical assistance in this round of the competition. And Amy, I'll turn it to you.
Great. So I'm going to walk us through and share information about eligibility. This would be baseline eligibility for qualifying for the Breakthrough Challenge. First, there is a geographic eligibility criteria. Innovations need to be from one of the 37 states highlighted here on the map or the District of Columbia. This map is available on the Breakthrough Challenge website, and the particular qualifying states are also listed out. We know that there is need and that there are exciting new housing models in all parts of the country. For this competition, we are focused on these 38 markets because they are where Wells Fargo has significant consumer and corporate presence and a strong connection to the community. These are the locations where Wells Fargo has the infrastructure in place to support and lift up the selected innovators during the multi-year program period including business expertise, community relationships, and communications support. I do want to emphasize that it is the location for scaling and implementing the innovation that is the determinant of the applicant's geography. So it is not necessarily where the applicant organization has an office or a headquarters. It is about the location for scaling and implementing the innovation. We also have a baseline eligibility criteria based on organization type. So eligible organizations include nonprofit 501c3 organizations, quasi-governmental organizations like housing authorities and housing finance agencies with a 501c3 entity, tribal housing authorities and tribally designated housing entities. Mission-oriented for-profit organizations are also eligible to apply. The application will be asking for additional information from these organizations to illustrate how their innovation demonstrates a commitment and a focus on housing affordability. I would clarify that as a for-profit business, the whole organization does not need to be mission focused on housing affordability, but the innovation clearly needs to meet the housing affordability standards for the challenge. And then the timeline for the competition. The round one, the application is available. That became available on Tuesday, and applications will be due by March 3rd. Notice I didn't say on March 3rd. You are more than welcome to submit your application prior to March 3rd. And then those applications that are selected to move forward to the second round will be announced by May 1st. We will then be asking for additional information for those who are selected to move on. That application period will be from May 9th to June 6th. And then applications selected to move on to the third round will be announced July 31st. Again, more information will be requested for those applications that move on. That period will be from August 7th through September 1st. For the round 3 applications, we will have a live in-person pitch competition where the finalists make presentations to the selection committee. That is scheduled to take place October 9th through 11th, and then will be exciting. We will be announcing winners by October 23rd of this year.
Great, thanks, Amy. Let's move into the criteria and selection process where we'll talk a bit more about how proposals will be scored. So before moving into the scoring process, which I'll review in just a moment, applications will be reviewed to ensure eligibility. This initial review stage will confirm each of these criteria is met. This includes location, as Amy reviewed. Innovations must be executed or implemented in at least one of the 38 eligible markets. Affordability, this is the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge, so innovations must live up to that name and serve a majority of residents at 80% of area median income and below for rental. And innovations must serve a majority of residents at 120% and below of area median income for homeownership. Finally, we will confirm that the lead organization meets the organizational eligibility requirements that Amy previously reviewed. Applications that move into the scoring process will be evaluated on a 50-point scale broken down into 3 categories: efficacy and feasibility, alignment with challenge priorities, and readiness. Within efficacy and feasibility, we're asking our reviewers to score based on criteria you see bulleted here. Is this idea transformative? Is it possible, feasible? Does the innovation create cost savings and/or create additional resources? Does the innovation create time savings and/or process efficiencies? Will residents benefit directly from the innovation? Is this innovation scalable and replicable? Reviewers will also score innovations on how they align with priorities we reviewed earlier. How well does this innovation address environmental sustainability or climate resilience? We understand not all innovations will have an environmental component, so applicants will have the option of responding with a not applicable or NA for this question and won't be penalized in the scoring process. We will also ask reviewers to score based on how well the innovation centers racial equity as both a process and an outcome. And finally, in readiness, reviewers will score based on how well applicants justify and explain the award ask, as well as how well the project team demonstrates readiness to carry out this innovation. Again, we want to know your innovation is implementation ready. As Amy shared, this competition is made up of 3 rounds. From a scoring and selection process, in round 1, reviewers representing all 3 divisions of enterprise will review and score applications, with each application being reviewed and scored by 3 people. Review teams organized by focus areas will then convene to make selections of which innovations will move into round 2. In round 2, review teams made up of multiple lines of business within Wells Fargo will review and score second round applications, and will then select the finalists moving into the 3rd and final round. The final round will include that live pitch day event where all finalists will pitch their breakthrough idea to a national panel of judges, including Wells Fargo and Enterprise. These judges will represent affordable housing and community development and have expertise across the 3 focus areas of the competition. The panel of judges will then select the winning innovations that will be announced the week of October 23rd. I will now ask Tanya to walk us through Slide Room and provide additional information on how to apply. Tanya.
Thank you, Christy. So from the Enterprise website, enterprisecommunity.org/breakthrough, you'll click on the Apply Now button to access the application. Clicking this box will take you to this page on Slide Room. Now you're in Slide Room, and this is a listing of all the open requests for proposal and applications Enterprise has available. You can see here the 3 focus area applications from the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. If you click on any of these programs, it will take you to an overview of that program, and you can also preview the entire application. Here is an overview of the construction focus area application. If you click down at the bottom on Preview Full Application, you can preview all the questions. It is at this point, if you know you want to apply for the program, you will need to either log into Slide Room if you already have an account, or sign up for an account if you don't have one. From this screen, you can click Apply Now, and you'll get here. If you already have an account and you log in on this screen, you will be taken back to the program you were looking at, and you can begin your application. If you are signing up for the first time, you must supply an email address and password and click Sign Up. You will then receive an activation link from Slide Room to the email address you provided. Click on that link and your Slide Room account will be activated. Then you can log in. When you do log into Slide Room, you'll be taken to the list of open applications again, where you can click on the Breakthrough Challenge program you want to apply for. When you click Begin Application, if you just signed up to Slide Room for the first time, you will have to create a Slide Room profile. For the Slide Room profile, be sure to register as an organization and fill in your organization's name. Fill out the rest, click Continue Application, and you're on your way. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not that complicated, and the directions on SlideRoom are pretty easy to follow. Now you are ready to start filling out your application. Most of the questions will be answered inside a text box. There are character limits in place, different limits for different questions, and you will see how many characters you've used and how many you have left as you're typing your answer. There are a few multiple choice questions. There are a couple of questions where you will upload a document. When you complete one set of questions and click Continue, you'll go to the next set of questions automatically. You can skip questions and go back to them later. When you're done working on your application but not ready to submit it yet, click Save and Exit in the upper right-hand corner. When you log back in at another time, it will take you right back to the application in progress, and it will even show you a list of the required questions you haven't answered yet. Troubleshooting. All technical issues, such as trouble creating an account, logging in, or resetting passwords, must be sent to SlideRoom's customer service team at support@slideroom.com or by accessing their online help desk at support.slideroom.com. If you have questions while logged in and navigating the application, there is a help button in the top right-hand corner. You will be offered a help guide to view or an option to contact their support team, which is very responsive. Please know that your enterprise team cannot help you with technical issues related to SlideRoom. You must contact SlideRoom for technical questions. SlideRoom features. SlideRoom automatically saves work as it is entered. If internet access is lost or computer problems occur, work will be saved. Applicants can log in and out as many times as needed to complete their application. Once a proposal has been submitted, you will not be able to go back in and make edits. Once submitted, you will see a confirmation screen with your ID number, the date and time of your submission, and the program you submitted to. You will receive a confirmation email with information pertaining to your submission. Please keep this email for your records. Thank you, Christy.
Great, thank you, Tanya. I am now going to share a bit more about the experience of being a challenge winner. The challenge is much more than simply a grant program. Enterprise and Wells Fargo view our winning organizations as partners, and with that comes some exciting opportunities for engagement. In addition to very regular communication, the challenge will engage with our winners more significantly in these ways. First, in addition to any planned evaluation you might include in your own innovation implementation plan, we will also be looking at the overall impact of the challenge in the housing affordability context because of these winning innovations. This won't be completed at an individual level, but rather a collective look at how this challenge impacts the sector. Next, we're expecting great things from our future winners, and we'll be taking every opportunity possible to tell the story of impact and feature the winning innovations in a variety of ways. Finally, I think the fan favorite with our current winners is the cohort convenings. We've been able to convene with our first cycle winners virtually on a regular basis and also in person, where we traveled to Brownsville, Texas, Seattle, Washington, and Washington, DC last year. These opportunities to come together as a cohort are incredibly valuable, as it provides space for peer-to-peer networking, group learning, chances to collaborate, and a place to talk about how hard innovation is. It's all worth it, but it certainly isn't easy. I just heard a quote yesterday that I think is very fitting. Shared struggle builds solidarity. I think that's certainly the case with our first cycle cohort. These convenings are not only productive, but we also manage to have a lot of fun. Sorry about that. Building on the first cycle of the challenge, we will continue to bring our winners together, as I mentioned, to brainstorm and build their networks. In fact, Otis Rowley of the Wells Fargo Foundation that you just heard from made a verbal commitment to support a Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge alumni network. So our current winners can continue convening and supporting one another and even convene alongside our future challenge winners. We're excited to expand our innovator cohort and create additional opportunities for shared learning. We have shared a lot with you so far during this webinar, and if you missed anything, you'll have the chance to watch this webinar again or share with your colleagues. A recording will be sent to all who have registered. We will also make the recording available on our website as soon as we're able. A couple of important reminders that we wanted to reiterate. Applications are due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Friday, March 3rd. You do not want to wait until 11:58 p.m. to hit that submit button. We will be available that day to respond to questions by email through the Housing Breakthrough at enterprisecommunity.org website, or I'm sorry, email address, until 7 o'clock Eastern only. As Tanya mentioned, we will not be able to troubleshoot any slide room issues you may have or technical issues with slide room. You'll need to email them directly or access their help desk online. So again, you want to make sure you give yourselves plenty of time to successfully submit your application before the deadline. The link to the application can be found on the Enterprise website. Again, enterprisecommunity.org/breakthrough. You'll see an Apply Now button in multiple places within the Breakthrough Challenge information that will take you right to slide room. Finally, many of you have innovations that align with more than one focus area, but you must choose only one under which to apply. Please note also with any questions that you might want to follow up with, any questions that weren't answered in this webinar, questions that we're not able to answer in the Q&A portion, please submit those to the Housing Breakthrough at enterprisecommunity.org email address. But note, we will not be able to respond to questions asking for guidance or advice on how to respond to application questions specifically. We've mentioned this website so many times before, but here it is one final time. This is going to be your main channel for all Breakthrough Challenge news, updates, and announcements. And I'll end with this quote that beautifully captures the spirit of the Housing Affordability Breakthrough Challenge. So good, in fact, that it is on one of the walls of the exhibition that Otis mentioned at the National Building Museum, featuring our 6 current winners of the challenge. We're already seeing the incredible impact of the first Breakthrough Challenge, and we know there's so much more in store as we launch the second cycle. Thank you all so much for your interest in being part of it. Now we are going to spend our remaining time on Q&A answering some of the questions that have been submitted. So with that.
Great. Well, there have been a lot of questions rolling in, so we will try and answer as many as possible. First off, Amy, there was a request to clarify your reference to the funding not being available for a deal or a single project or existing projects. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, I think it really goes to this question of innovation. We are looking for solutions, strategies, approaches that are going to be transformative to the housing sector as a whole. And funding for an individual project is while incredibly important, and we're super supportive of that, we don't necessarily see that as transformative to the sector. So I think that that's an important lens to be looking at your new approach through.
Great, thank you. And lots of questions about the focus areas. Reed, maybe I'll pitch this to you. Will it strengthen our application to show strengths across all three focus areas?
So as Christy shared, organizations must apply for one of the three. And we certainly recognize that innovations are often intersectional and might touch all three, but we really need the specific application to focus and to be geared towards one of the three. So if it is relevant and if it has sort of aspects that touch the other areas, you're certainly welcome to describe that in the application, and there's room for narrative description of the innovation, but you do have to focus on one of the three focus areas.
Great. And Christy, for you, what is the technical assistance for the challenge that will be available to grantees?
Technical assistance, as I mentioned, we are, as we have in the first cycle of the challenge, each of the winners receives technical assistance that is provided by Enterprise, but also knowing Enterprise doesn't have expertise in all areas of the sector, we also are going to be offering technical assistance that will be provided by outside providers as well. This is not going to be a question that we're asking in the first round of the challenge. This is more about a time to ask for the grant award size. In the second and third rounds, we'll be getting a lot more information about what additional technical support, technical assistance these organizations need to successfully implement and scale their ideas. But examples that our current cohort of winners, examples of technical assistance that they've used is for engineering, specific types of fire testing and things of that nature. The development and creation of toolkits so that the ideas are, publicly accessible. So that the scalability and replicability is even, there's guidance and a pathway for organizations to understand how to go about doing that. So those are in some evaluation as well. So how to evaluate the impact of the innovation itself. That also supports the work that we're doing internally on evaluating the program and the impact of the program overall.
Great, thank you. And maybe this one for you too, Christy. How will intellectual property contained in proposals be protected?
That's a great question. For round one applications, the only organizations that will be reviewing or seeing those ideas that stays within Wells Fargo and Enterprise. We will not be sharing applications. We will not be sharing ideas. We will not be publicly, putting those ideas in any place. We see the information that is included in the round one application as proprietary, and we respect the information with it that will be included within those proposals as such.
Christy, maybe it would be important, though, to touch on the objectives related to documentation and replicability if that application is selected.
Right. Great point. So round one, we're going to keep the information confidential. If the idea is ultimately awarded, then one of the most important factors of this challenge is to take your idea and make it so that it could be adopted by other organizations, other municipalities, other entities across the US. So that would be something to consider if this is an idea that you're looking for funding and want to keep that information within house, not to be shared publicly. That would be something that would be potentially concerning to you, understandably. But again, the intention behind the vision behind this challenge is to create solutions that are more broadly adoptable and can be used or applied in different types of communities across the US.
Great. Next question. We have several questions asking about the environmental sustainability and racial equity priorities. One question being, do we need to meet both of those priorities or just one? And another request for a little bit more clarity on environmental sustainability, since there was a reference to it not being applicable in some cases.
Yeah, I can maybe start, and then Amy or Reed, if you want to add. Racial equity is a requirement. We are looking to see how your innovation centers racial equity in any proposal across all three focus areas. That is very core to the challenge. Environmental sustainability or climate resiliency, we do understand that is not always relevant as you're thinking of innovation within the housing affordability space. However, if, for example, you have an innovation on how to build more efficiently and at a cost savings, and you're not including an environmental sustainability component in that evaluation, then you would be penalized, because that is an area that we're wanting to see applied to innovations in every relevant opportunity possible. It's not an area that can simply be skipped over if there is an opportunity to include it. But if you have a financing innovation that is about building an underwriting system, then we understand that it's not relevant to expect an environmental component within an innovation like that.
Okay. Question about single family homes. Will rehabilitation of single family homes be eligible? Reed, do you want to take that?
Sure. Generally, both single family and multifamily or innovations that touch both of those parts of the housing stock are eligible.
Great. And I guess a general question, lots of specific questions about eligibility beyond the website. Any suggestions on how those questions can be answered? Are local governments eligible? Can a university partner with a nonprofit be part of the challenge? Can a nonprofit with a 501c1 designation participate?
I mean, I guess I'll jump in here, and then maybe Christy can refine my answer, which is we are certainly excited about partnerships. Partnerships will be critical to advancing any innovation. So as long as the primary applicant fits one of those categories that I outlined, we welcome the participation of governments and universities as partners to that lead applicant. But the lead applicant does need to fit one of those categories that I identified.
Great. Question for you, Christy. You are asking for a budget in the application. What level of detail are you looking for?
Yes, we are. It's a follow up to the question about what is your specific grant award ask, the 1 million, the 2 million, or the 3 million. So with this, we're asking for a very high level overview of a budget that will just give us a sense on how you would be using those funds over the course of the grant period. So we're asking you to categorize kind of buckets of funding that would represent the majority of funds being spent. So for example, staffing, if that's a significant line item that this grant award would support, or engineering, or building materials, something that is a significant expense that we could see just to get an idea and kind of a vision of how you would be using this grant award to implement your innovation, but no level of specificity.
Great. Question about the convenings. Are those funded through the challenge, and are they planned in advance?
Yes, those are funded through the challenge. So the expenses associated with traveling to an in-person convening, for example, are not expenses that we are expecting organizations to use from their grant award. And yes, we do plan them as far in advance as we can. The pandemic threw a bit of a wrench in our convening planning for the first cycle of challenge winners. But we want to work with who our future winners are. Where are they located? Where are their innovations being implemented? How can we all go and see and feel and experience these innovations coming to life within the communities that they're benefiting? So we don't know where those convenings will be held yet. We're going to be waiting until we announce our future winners to make those determinations.
Great. And related to that, how many winners do you anticipate selecting for this round of the challenge? Amy, maybe you want to take that?
Sure. I think we're hoping there will be 6 or more. We can't give a precise answer because we are making the grant awards, as Christy highlighted, variable, $1 million, $2 million, or $3 million. Same amount of grant dollars that will be allocated directly to the winners as in the first round when there were 6 winners. So we expect to see at least 6, maybe up to 10. It's a little bit of a guesswork, again, depending on the grant award amount.
And since we're almost at time, maybe this question is a good way to end. Is there a project completion timeframe or an expectation of when the innovation should be completed? Maybe Reed, you can take that.
I think I'll pass that to Christy. I'm not sure if I know the answer to that.
So we're announcing the future winners in October of 2023. It'll be a 3-year grant period. Within that 3 years, we are expecting innovations to be alive, for lack of a better way of saying it. We want to see something happening. We want to see a prototype. We want to see a new process or system that is already making an impact and creating benefit within its context. We want to see the start of the scaling and replicability, what has been laid out, so that when the grant period is over, we know what the next step is. We understand that, when talking about innovation and successfully implementing that invitation, it's not a 3-year period of time that folks can get it done and walk away. It's an ongoing. This is the start or the next step for many of our, I'm guessing, our future winners. So we want to support that significant next step that it takes to bring these innovations to life, so that in future years, 5 years, 10 years from now, we can point at these innovations and say, this has changed a system. This has changed an approach in a way that is really transforming the housing affordability sector. And the challenge investment and the experience of working with cohort members has really made a huge contribution in the success of what it's bringing to the field. So with that was a really fast Q&A time. Again, I'm so sorry to those whose questions we were not able to address. But want to thank my fellow speakers today, Amy and Reed and Tanya and Otis and Jacqueline. Thank you to Nicole for queuing up our Q&A, and Andrea for running this webinar behind the scenes. Just want to say thanks to you all for joining us today. Please visit Enterprise Community housingaffordablity.org/breakthrough for additional information, a link to a recording of this webinar. And please feel free to send your questions to housingbreakthrough@enterprisecommunity.org. And with that, have a great afternoon.